Strong thunderstorm.
Edition of WeatherScope. Comprehensive severe weather coverage from the Weather Channel Forecast Center.
Our coverage of Hurricane Bertha continues. You're looking at video out of Wrightsville, North Carolina. Very, very recent video, I might add. And we did have reports out of this area that the John Mercer Pier was completely destroyed. Again, that's Wrightsville Beach in North Carolina. And John, it's been a while since.
And Wrightsville Beach was hit about as hard as anybody with this hurricane, Jim. I'm afraid it did a lot of damage there.
And you saw those boats bobbing up and down there. And we'll go back to the video and show you this. Obviously, that can't be good for them.
Okay, shall we go ahead and show the folks?
Back to the video here.
Right,
Wrightsville
there
Beach.
we are.
The surf doesn't look too bad there, but I'm sure once you get down to the beach, it's not very pleasant at all.
There's some very high winds here, a lot of tree damage, I'm sure, and every time you have tree damage, you have a lot of power outages. We understand right in Wilmington alone, there are 70,000 out, 70,000 homes out, and this is going to be hundreds of thousands in the state, I'm afraid.
And Carolina Power and Light, John, services 90,000 people in Wilmington alone, so that's about 3/4 of the population of Wilmington currently without power.
So you see why people need to get their boats out of harm's way. They need to be anchored somewhere where it's safe, and they need to be separated, otherwise you're going to have all kinds of damage. There's some roof damage I saw there, too.
All right, let's go ahead and give you the latest advisory from the Hurricane Center on Hurricane Bertha, from the fact that it's moved onshore. Here's a look at the Doppler radar. Still some very intense bands. I mean, you know, this thing has to be fed, and these feeder bands have to bring the moisture in toward the center and feed it. This is the most powerful part of the hurricane around the eye, and we still have to deal with this, John, heading up the coast of Onslaught Bay at more perhaps of a right angle than what we've seen thus far on the coast.
Right, Jim. Now, for the first time, though, you can see that a good bit of the eye is actually inland, so almost half the eye. So I guess we had to declare a time of landfall for this hurricane. It would be just right about now. Once half the eye gets in, I think we could say that.
So right about now, about 4:30 Eastern time.
And I believe that graphic we had up, it said it was south of Wilmington. It was actually southeast of Wilmington at that time, and now the center is actually pretty well east of Wilmington as it moves on to the north.
These barrier islands are surrounded by very, very shallow waters, especially on the inside. What type of a role do you think that we're going to have to deal with when this thing moves through the barrier islands from the west? What's going to happen on the eastern or the western side of these barrier islands?
Well, what's going to happen then, Jim, is as the hurricane gets farther up now, it's going to be moving inland. It's going to move inland now, and it's going to move up. I believe it'll be generally to the west of the sounds, Pamlico Sound and Albemarle Sound. When it gets north of there, there's going to be pretty strong winds around the southern periphery of the hurricane, and that's going to be west winds, and that's going to be blowing the sound water eastward toward the barrier islands.
And not good news either, because we're getting closer to high tide upward toward Cape Lookout, where we just had a tremendous wind.
Well, that's not going to happen before the next high tide up in the sounds, because it'll take longer. But Cape Lookout is getting up in that neighborhood now, so the next 2 or 3 hours are very concerned, and especially where we have still strong southeast onshore winds. This is where you're going to get your 8-foot storm surge, and that's 8 feet above what the normal tide would be at that time.
And we're going to have some coastal flooding. All right, Bill Keneally with us after experiencing the worst of Hurricane Bertha south of Wilmington. Bill, can you tell us how things have improved there in Bolivia, North Carolina?
Okay, Jim, we're in Bolivia, North Carolina, in the heart of Brunswick County, about 15 miles inland. As you have said, the eye is going inland now. It did never come over us. It passed to our east, and because of that, we did not get into the eye or the calm period. And also, we didn't get that abrupt wind shift from the northeast, then right around to the southwest as the eye would have gone by. Instead, we had a more gradual shift in the wind. It had been northeast, and now it's coming around to the northwest. And we were on the leeward side of the building. Now we're on the windward side. And I got to tell you, John, it's getting a little chilly in these wet clothes.
Again, that's that evaporation that does that, Bill. Your wind ought to be coming around more out of the southwest within the next couple of hours, I should think.
And hopefully that is a harbinger of drier things to come.
Well, if you hang around there long enough, there's one more band of rain off to your west.
Uh-huh. And thereafter?
And thereafter, it should clear up pretty abruptly.
Okay, that sounds good. The air is starting to stabilize a little bit, but earlier today that was not the case. John, let's show you the pictures shot earlier in and around the immediate area. This is not on the coast. The Bald Head Island, which is where Cape Fear is, that is where the strong storm surge flooding took place.
And when you see what the trees look like where you are, imagine what they are down closer to the beach where the winds were even stronger.
That's right, John. We have not heard much about that anywhere, really, from Calabash all the way out towards Cape Fear. As you said, though, as that storm and the eye wall started to strafe the beach there from Carolina Beach up to Wrightsville Beach, it was a whole different ball game.
They took pretty much the full brunt of this hurricane, Bill.
That is right. And earlier, the folks in the Myrtle Beach area, John, were very concerned. Thankfully, it looks like that eye wall itself stayed about a good 50 miles to their east.
Well, Bill, try to get dried off a bit. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, Bill Keneally, who is anxiously awaiting things to dry out. John, let's talk post North Carolina here just a little bit. It's very conceivable that this thing has to rain itself out for the next 24 to 48 hours. Who's going to feel the brunt of that?
Well, of course, North Carolina is tonight, but it's already some pretty heavy rain up into southern Virginia, the Norfolk area, and up in that way. So that's all going to spread up. That heavy precipitation is going to spread up the coast ahead of the hurricane. And we have that old frontal boundary up there. Don't forget that. And that will even make the rain more widespread because there will be the rain directly associated with the hurricane, and then there'll be some overrunning of that front. Also, there's a high pressure behind that front, and that sets up a big contrast in pressure between the high pressure up there and the low pressure of the hurricane, and that's going to ensure that even when the hurricane weakens up in the northeast, you're going to have a pretty good onshore flow of wind.
So you think even places like Cape May, Seabright, New Jersey, even up toward the Sound, we'll see winds and gusts over 50 miles an hour?
Well, I'm not sure they'll be over quite as strong as that, but I'd say over 40 miles an hour certainly, and maybe even stronger. That's going to be a tight pressure gradient.
Plus
not as strong as we see down here for the hurricane.
Right. Plus we got a new moon to deal with too. So.
Well, that will affect the tides. That'll make the tides even higher than they normally would be.
All right. Thank you very much, John Hope, our hurricane specialist, and Bill Keneally reporting a very wet Bill Keneally from Bolivia, North Carolina.
Across the country are Hurricane Bertha along the coast of North Carolina, and a very long frontal boundary which stretches from the southeast through the southern plains and heads west into the Rockies. We do have reports of tornadic type thunderstorms trying to develop here in the plains in Colorado, and reports of sightings of funnel clouds within the past hour in parts of eastern Colorado. There's your satellite view. Tremendous rains earlier today in parts of Oklahoma and western Arkansas, and this same location may see more heavy rain coming up as we head into tomorrow.